Bună dimineața, or good morning from Romania. I'm Kent T. Critchlow, and I will present a briefing entitled Interpersonal Communication, Listening and Beyond. This represents my final project in studies in interpersonal communication. Next slide. I will cover 10 topics during my presentation and will conclude with my closing remarks on how I will reach my overarching goal, which is I will master the fine art of communication through enhanced listening skills. Next slide. I cannot begin my presentation without first defining interpersonal communication. To me, communication happens between and among people. Our discussions will shape and mold our self-identity. If bread is the staff of life for our physical bodies, then communication is the staff of life for our mental, emotional, social, and spiritual identity. According to Stewart, your contact quotient is a measurement of how you connect with others. Improvement is measured by your quality of contact achieved in comparison to the quality of contact possible. Next slide. To achieve a full measure of quality of contact possible with others, enlarging the conversation is vital to our personal growth and self-identity. How can this be done? Let me highlight 2 examples. First, we need to acknowledge that I am okay and that you are okay, regardless of our race, gender, age, color, or other differences. We must embrace diversity as the norm. Second, we need to adopt an attitude of being inclusive with everyone. In order to find ourselves, we must first lose ourselves in our self-discovery of humanity. This is done through effective talking and listening with others. Next slide. Achievement of my overarching goal will not be an easy undertaking. How will I accomplish this goal? First, I need to be a better listener, at least at a 70 to 30% and at a level 1. I learn more about myself and others when I do. Second, I need to be an empathetic listener. I must demonstrate that I care, that I am concerned, and that I'll be there when they need me. Third, I need to master Peterson's talking and listening card. This card is a very powerful tool. In fact, it has already helped me improve my communication skills with my wife and with my friends. Next slide. I also need to be a fearless disciple of Christ and to do at least one act of service each and every day. Through this process, I will be well on my way to achieve my overarching goal. Next slide. One of the most overly used and inaccurate statements is, he or she hasn't changed at all. Stewart said, our work, our relationships, and our lives succeed or fail one conversation at a time. End of quote. I've listed 7 roles that comprise my many and varied identities. For example, I am married. I have 4 kids, and believe it or not, 18 grandchildren. I love serving my country. Sports serve as a metaphor for life. If you fall, fall forward. Even when you fall to the ground, you'll still gain yardage. And I love to serve others. Next slide. According to Carbonell, there are 4 temperament models of behavior as illustrated on the slide. Our personality is the sum total of our behaviors, feelings, and thoughts. Next slide. When I took the DISC test, I discovered that 3 out of the 4 personality blends were most prominent in my overall personality. However, D was the most prominent. As a D, I am goal-driven and mission-oriented. However, I need to learn that people are more important than the mission. The Army taught me just the opposite. I need to relearn this philosophy. As an I love to be with people. However, I need to be more cognizant that details are important. As a C, I am competent. I am a subject matter expert in my field of work. However, once again, I need to see the difference between the macro and micro perspective. Next slide. Here I've illustrated my top 10 list, but will highlight just a few. First, I'm a Christian and follower of Jesus Christ. My standards, my beliefs, my very essence, stems from trying to live after the teachings of Jesus Christ. Second, my heritage. My father used to say, "Kent, are you bringing honor to our family name?" Third, as a military officer, I have lived in Somalia, where I saw the worst of mankind. I also served in Bosnia, Iraq on multiple occasions, and in Jordan, Syria, Egypt, and now here in Romania. The norms, mores, and values of our varied societies have widened my perspective and understanding of mankind. Fourth, my conversations as a husband, father, and grandfather to 18 grandchildren has been shaped for the better. Next slide. Fifth, this class, with Dr. Cooper as our professor, has taught me that listening, and listening some more, but to do so with a compassionate ear, a loving heart, and an understanding mind, and with an empathetic spirit. Next slide. My influence on others extends to the tip of my fingers and how well I listen and talk with others. I need to be non-judgmental of others and be more inclusive. Lastly, development takes time. I need to be more patient with my growth process. Next slide. I will also address internal noises, but only will highlight two that affect me the most. Myth, speaking is power, therefore speak more. And bias listening, hear what you want to hear. To overcome both problems, I must be non-judgmental and listen at a ratio of 70 to 30 and at a level 1. Next slide. I will now address external noises, but will only highlight two of them. First, biased talking, telling the story my way, altering the facts just a little, or omitting key details of the story altogether. And second, clock watching. Don't be distracted by the noises around us. Both external noise distractors can be overcome by true self-disclosure and talking for understanding and meaning, and by telling the whole truth and nothing but the truth. Next slide. If you don't plan, you plan to fail. Let me highlight key components of my action plan. First, know thyself. Don't set limits on you. With Christ, all things are possible. Second, know others. I will enrich my self-identity through greater understanding of others. Third, understand and implement the talking and listening card. Next slide. And finally, I will live the Beatitudes. To be or not to be is the question. Our character is shaped by our behaviors. I will be more loving. I will be more empathetic. I'll be more consistent and fair with all people that I come in contact with. And finally, I will be a true reflection of Christ. Next slide. In summary, my greatest takeaways from this course that will help me reach my overarching goal were as follows. From Stewart, communication builds self-identity one conversation at a time. From Burley Allen, listening comes from the head and heart, give it your all. From Bryant, listening builds rapport and trust with others. From Norkunas, listeners bear testimony as a witness to the talker's lives. From the movie Fireproof, turn our life over to Christ. Finally, to hope, to believe, to know, to understand, and to do and be is wisdom, if applied consistently. Last slide. These are my references. Thank you very much.